macroeconomics, there's an important economic concept known as fiscal policy. Fiscal policy is the use of taxes, government transfers, or government purchases of goods and services to shift the aggregate demand curve. But why do we need to shift the aggregate demand curve?
Well, this is what the economy looks like when it is at full employment. Here we have a full employment graph. We have price level on the y-axis and GDP on the x-axis. We have aggregate supply and aggregate demand. Where these two lines intersect, right here, is where the LRAS line is drawn, long-run aggregate supply. This is where price level reaches equilibrium and where the quantity of full employment is at equilibrium. However, due to demand shocks, economies can experience a recessionary or inflationary gap, causing the need to use fiscal policy.
For example, let's say the government is in a recession and decides to raise the amount of unemployment compensation. During a recession, aggregate demand is usually too low to provide enough jobs to bring about full employment. This is where expansionary fiscal policy kicks in. Expansionary fiscal policy increases aggregate demand to close a recessionary gap. The government either increases government spending or decreases taxes to increase aggregate demand. This will result in lower unemployment and possibly a higher price level. The government provided unemployment compensation as an automatic stabilizer to keep aggregate demand from falling too rapidly. The government helps those in financial need if they're laid off.
Now let's look at what happens when the government raises Social Security taxes. When the government increases taxes or reduces its spending, or both, in order to decrease aggregate demand, it is closing an inflationary gap through contractionary fiscal policy. This will result in higher unemployment and a lower price level. In 1935, the Social Security Act was established to provide benefits and aid for workers, industries, and the physically handicapped as a law. Since the government had to pass a law in order to raise Social Security taxes, it is stabilizing the economy through discretionary fiscal policy.
So to wrap it up, fiscal policy is how the government regulates recession and inflation in the economy by changing taxes and or changing government spending. Thanks for listening and tune in next time.